Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Season 4, Episode 6, Journey to the Center of Mikey's Mind. I definitely like this episode because, of course, definitely, any episode that kind of focuses on Mikey is going to tend to be pretty funny. And this is definitely a funny episode. It had a lot of cool stuff, and especially the ending when they got to Mikey's imagination. That was very interesting because we got to see, like, Tiger Claw was there as a hero and stuff, and we got to see, like, the cartoon. We got to see Gragnar or Gragnok, the Conan, obviously, or Conan anime character, and then, of course, the Voltron anime character. I don't remember any of their names, but we got to see them watching a cartoon. We got to see the toy version of Brad as, like, basically, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but, I think you know what I'm talking about. So we got him as, like, just the toy version and stuff, and we had to see Ice Cream Kitty and all this other stuff that we haven't really seen in a while, so I certainly enjoyed that. The story in general, I thought was pretty interesting. It starts off where they're trying to get information on how to get another piece of the portal and everything. They get betrayed by Charlie Murphy, because that is who is playing that character for anyone who didn't know that. They get betrayed by him. Then Mikey has, he mentions how he has all these different secrets and stuff. And so, of course, we get to meet I believe they're called neutrons or something like that. Or, it's either neutrons or very close to that, because they're obviously like neutrons because they're so tiny. But that was pretty cool. I thought it was interesting that they were like these tiny itty-bitty little robots that go into people's brains. They're basically like cells. Like, even their ship is like an amoeba, which I thought was really cool, and it has the little, like the wavy skin and stuff on the outside to make it fly. And I like the way they played with that idea, because it started off where they're behind the ship, and of course they made it seem like it was the same size, so it's like, oh, they're about to get attacked and don't realize it. And then nothing happened, and we see the ship land, and as soon as they landed, I was like, they're actually super, super tiny, because they're walking on Mikey's shell. And then it zooms out, and of course that's what it is. And we have the turtles going into his mind. We have April using her psychic abilities to try and lead them, which I thought was a pretty cool focus for the episode, even though, well, I guess I shouldn't say focus. It was a good part of the episode just because it was her utilizing her ability a bit more. And she gets cut off, like, I say it was about halfway through, probably a little bit before halfway through. So we didn't get to see her do that too much or really use her powers to, like, an insane degree. But she does help them get from location to location, which was another cool thing about this episode. We got some very interesting callbacks. We got to see them in their sort of cosplay World of Warcraft style outfits where they're LARPing and stuff, or the Dungeons and Dragons style outfits. So that was really cool. We got to see them at the cabin as well with Donatello and the female Bigfoot, basically. And then I think after that it was just like a big stage, and that's where we got the 3 different personas of Mikey. And it was pretty cool. I like seeing all the little callbacks and stuff because, of course, with this season, what it is, we don't have much of what the Turtles, this series at least, has had in the previous seasons. We don't have any of the earthly characters. There is no Splinter, there is no Shredder, there's no Karai storyline. There's none of the villains, so no Bebop, Rocksteady, Tiger Claw, Zever, the fish, who's obviously the name, I can't remember his name. Actually, that's Zever. Zever and Razar. Razar's the guy I was forgetting. Mixed them up. But none of those characters are there, so it was cool to have these interesting callbacks. I was surprised we didn't see Splinter or Shredder, because we did, like I said, we saw Tiger Claw and stuff like that. And I think it would have been cool if they had a part of Mikey's mind where he was, like there was, maybe not Shredder himself, but at least Splinter, because of course he's their father, they all miss their father, so I think that's something that would have been really cool. But of course it would have had to have taken away, it would have had to have been a big moment of the episode. It would have had to have at least been like a 5-minute portion in itself. That couldn't have been like they spent 1 minute and that's it, and it's just like, alright, let's move on. But something would have been cool. I feel like that would have been interesting to see if it wasn't just all comedy and we got to see some of the other sides, because we got to see like angry Mikey, but we didn't get to see the Mikey that fears some of the things that have happened to them before, feels that loss of like losing Splinter. So I would love to have seen that, even though we didn't. But what we did see was definitely entertaining. Once, like I said, once they got to his imagination, that was pretty fun. We got to see actual young Mikey, which was interesting because I thought, excuse me, I thought for sure he'd just be Michelangelo, and then they got to him, and it's like, nope, he's actually like a young version of himself. So that was pretty cool to see that, and he's actually shorter than everyone, and he calls his brothers big brothers. I don't know if Mikey is the youngest out of the four, but I just thought that was interesting. Whether he is or isn't, he called him that because he was, in his mind, he was really young. And I love the joke they made because it's like, well, it makes sense because he never matured past the age of 6. So I thought that was kind of cool too. Like, well, it makes sense that he'd be the kid version of himself because he never matured past that. So I certainly enjoyed that. The action was good when they teamed up, and they have, all these different characters come back into the show. They had like the pigeon guy was in there. I believe Tiger Claw was flying during that scene. I think they had like actual 2 flying characters, and then Tiger Claw was there just flying. So it was kind of cool to see how they did that. And it was just like, man, it's really sweet. And we have the toy Brad and everything. And I remember he was Chuck Norris is the character I was thinking of. But we have him there, like I said, Ice Cream Kitty, and all these other characters. And it's just like a cool way to have these little callbacks, because we aren't going to get to see these guys for, I would assume, for the rest of this season, which might not be for us at least for like an entire year, considering how this series tends to post out, put out episodes, which is very unfortunate. But that's been happening since, I think that's been happening since season 2 or so, or like maybe the middle of season 1. I don't remember, but it's been crazy what we've had to deal with for this show. But it's worth it. It tends to be worth it. It's definitely a fun show. Certainly did enjoy this episode. I'm looking forward to, of course, them getting into like some of the really deep stuff, which they technically didn't. I mentioned this before in my last review. That was like an important episode, but it just, I don't know, I guess because the stakes didn't feel so high, it wasn't like that big of a deal to me. But I'm looking forward to them getting to some of the really drastic stuff that they can definitely get into, being out in the galaxy, just unknown. So I think for, even though they did that a little bit, because of course they meet this one guy that the Future Toy knows, and they go to the bar and stuff, and like Casey and April have to stay, and Casey's like, that's human racist and stuff. I thought that was a really funny line. But there's so much that they can get into. We do get to see our main villain in this episode when the guy's talking to him like, oh, don't worry, I'll have all these secrets for you and stuff. But he's not really in the episode. We have our neutrons or neutronians, whatever they call them. So it was cool to meet those characters, and it was cool that they actually fought against them in the dream, because of course they were giant. When they got into the dream, they were like giant menacing robots that could not be defeated. So I love the fact that they had to kind of go through Mikey's mind in order to beat them and get to the imagination and have everything Mikey was thinking of as their weapons. So I certainly love that. That was really cool. Renee was in there as well, so it's like a giant. So just a lot of great callbacks to characters and stuff. I'm sure there's some characters that I didn't really see. Like, they may not have focused on certain characters, but I feel like they focused on everyone when they first went through. And then, of course, Renee was a giant, so it was impossible to miss her. But I'm pretty sure they focused on every character that was there. There may have been some in the background that I missed or something like that. But it was nice little callbacks, getting to see all these characters that we haven't really seen in a while. So I certainly enjoyed that. I liked the action during that scene. And them just going through kind of like these little callbacks and stuff. Certainly enjoyable. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this one. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys would have added to Mikey's mental state. Like I said, I would have loved to have seen a section with Splinter. Like maybe if they did it when they were in the sewers. Like that could have been the first thing, actually. Because they're going through memories and stuff. That could have been like the first memory where it was them just at home, like relaxing, and Splinter's there, and Casey and April and stuff like that. I think that would have been really great. Like maybe maybe it wouldn't have to be a 5-minute thing. Maybe that would have been a bit too much, and probably a little too sad if it was like 5 whole minutes of them talking about how their father died in this sort of alternate future or whatever. But I think I feel like that's really the only thing that was missing out of Mikey's mind. Is like, I know, like we all know Mikey's the character that's just funny jokes and this and that. But no matter what, they're in a very interesting state. And we really got that in the last episode with Leo. I believe it was the last one. When he was in the hologram and he was seeing Master Splinter, and once again, that was a very short scene, which didn't really have any effect on the rest of the episode, outside of the fact that he was kind of he was doing a lot of mental control, which is a very Splinter like thing to do. So I guess that was about it. But it was just that one scene in the opening where it's like he saw Master Splinter, and of course it affected him. It's his father. I thought he was dreaming during that, but it was the hologram, and I feel like that would have been the perfect thing to have for this episode. It's at least one scene where in Mikey's mind they show how much he's really thinking about Master Splinter, and how, as happy as he is and stuff, there's that little corner where he's, in his mind where he's a little sad because it's still uncertain as to whether or not they're going to succeed to them. Of course, for us, we know they'll be fine. But, there's still that corner of his mind where he's unsure, and he saw what happened. Like, whether they fix it or not, they still experienced that loss. So, I don't know. I feel that's the only thing I feel was really missing from his mind, but I don't know what you guys would have added. So, like I said, please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.